Good day to you. Let's take a look at one of the most important concepts and an exciting one in HRM, international HRM. No organization can afford to ignore one area of HRM, which is the international aspect of their business, how they manage resources, how they compete in an environment wherein boundaries are disappearing or shrinking, and with the advent of technology and your cutting edge practices, how we are going to scout for talent, how you are going to manage worldwide production processes and talent, and how you can survive. Let's take a look at international HRM. Now, what are the objectives of this chapter? What is the impact of globalization on human resource planning and policy? Areas of convergence and divergence in international HRM. Impact of different natural cultures and what is the difference between cultures. What are the ways to manage culturally diverse workforce? Now, let's take a look at international HRM definition. Now, it is a process of employing and developing people in international organizations. Organizations have to take a hard and fast look at what are the basic approaches to recruitment and what are the process to employ people across boundaries. It means working across national boundaries to formulate and implement strategies, policies and practices which can be applied to an international workforce. If you think handling a domestic workforce in itself is a difficult task, consider teams which are across boundaries, different languages, different cultures. So what is this whole ball game about? International HRM deals with this specific topic of making it easy on everyday life, how to handle teams, how to handle issues, and to still keep the clock ticking. Let's say, what is the reason for the emergence of international HRM? Why do organizations need to look into it? Let's see the context. Domestic skill and education shortages. Now, say at a local level or the national level, you as an organization are not able to find resources, the right kind of skills required for you to go on with your operations. You have to look somewhere else. So if it is in a nearby country, or if you have to manage offshoring, you will have to go for a practice which will give you the best results. So your skill shortages is one of the major factors. Political change, let's say the emergence of BRIC countries, ASEAN, wherein new economies are developing, countries are providing you highly educated workforce. So organizations cannot simply ignore the emergence of new markets and new countries wherein you have a labor workforce which can give you competitive advantage. Shrinking of the world through ICT, that's information communication technology. As I mentioned earlier, the world is shrinking, the boundaries and the artificial limitations are being removed in business environments because of the impact of information communication technology. You need to take a look at your HRM practices and you need to compete internationally. Pressures of globalist competitions. Now competition is no longer domestic, you have to compete with people across territories, across geography. So you need to key in and tune in your practices according to the best in the business and to survive. Now, as I mentioned, development of trading blocs such as EU, WTO and NAFTA. You are increasingly collaborating with trading bodies, suppliers and your vendors are across territories. So how do you manage them? How do you manage the operations? These are the factors responsible for the emergence of international HRM. What are the characteristics of cross-national HRM? It is cosmopolitan. You have a workforce which is diverse in culture and which is adaptable to different situations, to the diverse backgrounds. So you have a cosmopolitan culture. As mentioned, culture is different among the various aspects of your workforce across different countries. Compensation. Designing a compensation package back home for a particular unit is in itself difficult. Consider designing a compensation package for employees moving in and out of a particular country, who live in out of suitcases. What kind of compensation package you're going to design for them? Now, communication. How effective is your communication process just to keep the workflow smooth? How are you going to manage? So communication is an important characteristic. Coordination. In all this chaos, how do you still manage to maintain coordination between different work teams and groups so as to manage the smooth flow of operations? Competence. how you're going to develop competence which is required for your operations and for your survival across different cultures and across different geographies. In consultancy, what is that is available for you in terms of consultancy? Now, international HRM can be more demanding for 4 reasons. Simply put, the complexity of the workforce mix. You have a diverse workforce with different elements involved and different backgrounds, so the diversity in itself is a big challenge. The management of diversity, if you as an organization do not have the right mix of people and the strategies to manage this workforce, that's a big problem in your hands. So you need to be aware and sensitive to the needs of a diverse workforce, and management itself is a demanding issue. The need for communication, you have to communicate simply. So what is the communication channel available for you? You have to maintain the consistency of communication so that there is no information gap, or when it comes to actual execution of jobs, you need to have a seamless integration so that you move forward and compete. Resourcing worldwide capabilities. When you do not have sufficient resources in country A, you're bound to look for it in country B. That is the current scenario. So how do you go about resourcing your worldwide capabilities in the cost-effective manner? So these are issues which make it international HRM more demanding than your domestic HRM. Now, what is the role of HR and in this internationalization strategy? Now, whether you go for a base for your foreign operations, or do you go for a joint venture versus strategic alliance, what are the factors involved here and what is the role of HR? Now, you have to take a look into the labor costs. What is the typical cost of labor involved for a particular region A, say in country A versus country B? What is the overall cost involved and what is the time gap involved wherein you can train people and bring them on the roles, and what is the different aspects of legislation involved? Now, as I mentioned, skills available in the local or national labor markets. What is that which is available for you in the local market? Is it sufficient? Are they good enough? What are the competency levels versus your talent pool in the neighboring countries? Government policy on education and training. This has a significant impact on the overall quality of the workforce. So which government is supporting labor initiatives? What are the training measures? How far is the support provided by government helpful for your own business and the industry as a whole? Employment legislations. Are the employment legislations pro-labor or they pro-employers? What is the overall impact of these legislations? What is the effect on the foreign direct investment? So you need to assess and do a study and then channelize your resources for the labor in a foreign country. What is the industrial relations culture? Is it a violent culture or is a culture wherein it supports table talk? So what is the culture about? How safe it is for your operations? Can this be jeopardized by a matter of a small incident? What is the industrial relations culture? What is the power of the trade unions? So language, culture and social differences. So all these needs to be figured in, and HR has to play a role in identifying potential problems and minimizing the risks involved, and having a strategy which could tackle the business operations and give a momentum to the whole aspect.